Hello and welcome to another episode of the O2 Garage. I really hope you've been enjoying all the videos so far, and consider hitting like and subscribe if you like videos about just enjoying cars here in South Australia. Which leads me to this episode, because we've started a project at the O2 Garage and it's had a cause for me to have a bit of a rethink. A big rethink. So not all that long ago, you'd remember we picked up that little Ford Anglia 105E, and the idea behind that vehicle was that we got it and we were going to put it together and build it for my wife Catherine and create a nice street car for her to use, a classic car with bumper bars. And what followed after that was that I brought it up here to Port Augusta, and when I got it up here to Port Augusta, what I started to realise was that it was sitting there not doing too much, so I needed to really do something with it. What followed after that was me deciding with my infinite wisdom that if you've got a complete car, what's better than having a complete car than having a completely stripped car? So with that in mind, I did this. Now, in addition to completely stripping the car down, the car also didn't have a diff under the back of it with wheels, so I couldn't move it around. It was very hard to work on it. So I came up with this ingenious plan to get the trailer, get the axle from a trailer, a 6x4 trailer, and I happened to find one in Adelaide that also had a set of wheels on it. So I went and grabbed that, and under the back of the Anglia with a couple of just hose clamps, nothing too much, I put this axle on it, so now I could roll it forwards and backwards. That was brilliant, that was fantastic, but it still didn't get me any further with the project, and that's why I had to have a rethink. Because during the course of pulling it apart in the last couple of months, I've been looking around at the value of the Ford Anglias to see what they're worth, when they're done up, when they're not done up, bits and pieces and parts. And the reality of it is, a really well done up, nice and tidy Ford Anglia with good running gear on the street don't get much change out of about 30 grand, $30,000. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you're looking to buy something like maybe a HQ or a Ford Falcon or something larger, it's actually not. It's quite cheap. When I look at 30,000, I don't have 30 grand I can just drop on a car, but I also don't have 30 grand to spend on fixing up the shell. But there's a lot of issues with that shell that I've got at the moment, a lot of rust issues. Maybe not structural, but there's certainly some around the car that are going to need work and attention. And I just have gotten to a point where I don't think I'm going to be able to take that shell on board and restore it to the level that I would need restored for Catherine to enjoy on the street. So that leaves me with one of two options. Okay, so option number one is I sell the car. I sell it. I know it's been all pulled apart. I can sort of roughly put it back together. I put it on the market, Anglia project car, and I sell it and I move it on. And I probably would get maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500, I don't know. But that could be a legitimate option to move that car on. What would that give me after that? Not much apart from a bit of cash in my hand. When you've got a bit of cash in your hand, you kind of want to sell something to get something else. And after running the maths, it's not good enough. So I need to have a look at option number two. Okay, option number two is use the Anglia for another purpose. It's obviously not going to be Catherine's drive car, so what could I do with it? Well, thought that I might turn it into a gasser. I've got that 245 Hemi motor out of the truck. I've got a 4-speed. I could have put a solid axle under the front, a crazy diff in the back, and done some crazy gasser. Sounds fun, sounds awesome. Then it would have limited saleability. Maybe I sell it for $5,000, I don't know. But it does mean that I could use it for something else. So, what I've come to the idea is that I've had a lot of classic Fords, Escorts, Cortinas over the past. Lots of Mark II, Mark I Escorts, Mark II, Mark I Cortinas, and I know my way around the mechanical side of the Anglia. The little Kent motors, the gearboxes, the diffs, the suspensions. I know my way around all that. I've had a lot of experience with that. So there was one car that I had in the past that if you ask Catherine, what was the one car you wished we'd never sold? And she'll tell you it was our 1963 Mark I Cortina Lotus replica. It was a replica in paint only, had 16-inch super lights, had a mild 2-litre single overhead cam motor, a 5-speed gearbox. It was white and green, and it had alloy door trims, and it had a red interior, and it was just one of those cars that created a lot of emotion when you saw it. Sitting still, it looked like a little Hot Wheels car because of the big rims, and it was a real fun car to own and enjoy. It didn't cost much to run, it was easy to drive. And so I think to myself, white car, white Anglia, why couldn't I do a replica of the Cortina as a street car? Do some alloy door trims, put some wheels on it, put a motor and gearbox in it, do it as a bit like a street racer, like a rat racer sort of a deal. Maybe even some numbers on the doors, and really have some fun with it, because the reality of it is that right now I've got a lot of parts that I could use to put into the car. A lot of parts. One of them, probably the most important parts that you don't know about, is this. So as you can see, I've got a motor and I've got a gearbox, and obviously I need all the other little accessories and bits and pieces, but I still have some really good connections to get all that early small Ford hardware. I'll need a set of rims. I think I've got an idea and a lead on that. I'll need a complete diff. I'll need an exhaust, a cooling system, a fuel system. It sounds like a lot, but the reality of it is it's not. It just takes a bit of time to get those parts together, because they're a very basic, simple car. And what I might be able to create is a street car, very, very basic, bare bones, no luxuries, but with about 80 horsepower, 85 horsepower, which again doesn't sound like much. But that little Anglia weighs just a touch over 700 kilos. So 80 horsepower is double what it came out with. That little thing is going to go, and go really well. It can only go 60 k's on the road, and I only go 110 on the open road. But through the back roads, in that 80, 90 k an hour zone, that thing's going to be an absolute awesome car to drive. And there's there's two really big reasons why I could build this car with a 4-cylinder and a 4-speed gearbox. Can you guess why? Well, if out of that selection you chose Ruby and Thomas, you chose correctly. My kids, Ruby and Thomas. Thomas, he's now on his P2s. He's got his Lexus, he's burning around. Now, if I did a 4-cylinder manual gearbox car, he can drive that on his license. And the same with Ruby. The minute Ruby gets her P plates, she's eligible to drive the Anglia on her P plates. Now, all it's got to be is a reliable car and have good brakes. I mean, it's going to be on historic rego, so it's only going to be a coffee and car event car, but that means she would be able to, and he would be able to, hop in a car and come to coffee and cars. And when, you know, Tom hops behind the seat, turns the ignition and drives a 1959 car, I would have to say that would be almost like a life goal. When Ruby does it and she hops in the car on her P plates, you can imagine I'm going to be the proudest dad ever. So I think the little Anglia that was destined to be Catherine's has just suddenly become a family car, built with all of the parts we've got left over, and something that we can keep and hold on to and enjoy. I think we now have a plan. So as you can see, I'm rummaging through everything I've possibly got, and I'm starting to build up, you know, a bit of a war chest. That's a good word. A war chest of parts for the Anglia. But if you think you've got something you'd like to maybe donate to the build, have a look through your parts. You might have something, a set of rims, a diff, something for an Anglia, something for a Cortina or an Escort I might be able to use. Let me know. I'd love to include some of your parts on the build, and I've got a pretty cool idea of including you and your contribution into the build if you've got something. So by all means, send me a private message or on YouTube. Let me know. It doesn't matter where you are, here or around the world. You could be over in South Africa and you've got tail lights for an Anglia. I need some tail lights. Let me know. I'd love to have you involved in the build. Do me a favor, hit like and subscribe, because this is an exciting project and it's going in a very different direction to what I've started with it. But I think it's going in a direction that is just full of energy and enthusiasm, and actually has a really good chance of being finished off and finished to a standard which not only can we enjoy the car, but people who see the car, because Anglias are quite rare, who see the car and be able to come up and enjoy it and have a look at it. So let me know if you can contribute. Let me know if you're enjoying it, or let me know if you think I'm just a Fruit Loop. Either way, hope you've enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode, because I am super pumped about this build. Okay, so this bit was worth sticking around for, because a couple of phone calls later, asking some questions, and we've secured an entire car, another whole car. Now, it's not an Anglia, but it has so many parts we can use, including the driveline. Well, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I know of the car, I know where it is, I have had a look at it, and it is going to have a whole stack of stuff we're going to be able to use. And I'm, as you can tell, pretty excited, to say the least, because it ticks off so many boxes. We have got ourselves a complete Mark II Ford Escort European gear.